Looking for a fun, different new shirt? Something related to the things you like? Climbing in the outdoors, perhaps philosophy? Visit our new store, the Dihedral Goods, on Etsy, and you'll find all that and much more.
I'm on! Roll! Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dihedral Podcast. This is Carrot, and today I'm joined by one of the nicest, strongest, and coolest climbers in the world. He might literally be friends with every other climber on the planet, and every one of them has nothing but positive things to say. He's sent over 50 routes at 8B plus or higher. Every video he's in is an absolute must watch. He's got a signature hold series that will blow your mind, and a simple scroll through his Instagram page will reveal that he might have the best musical taste in the history of rock climbing. I'm so happy that we get to talk to the sage of Santa Fe, Ben Hanna. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh man, thank you so much. That was an amazing intro. Thank
Oh,
you.
I appreciate it. I mean, I know we're here to talk about music, but I just want to say it's amazing how many other climbers you just show up on like their sites or their feeds and just how much they love you. I actually took a survey back in I don't know, it was just during COVID. I was doing a lot of surveys back then, just polling people about their favorite climbers, and you always were not even like amongst the top. You were number one. People were like, oh, you got to talk to Ben Hand. He's just the coolest guy. So anyway, it's a real honor to be able to talk to you, and I deeply appreciate you joining us today. So
thank you so much, Ivan. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, of course. So just to get everybody caught up on what we're going to be talking about today, each month during 2024, I've made a playlist to correspond with a decade going all the way back to the 1920s. And this month I'm covering the 1990s. It is tough to limit a playlist to 10 songs from each decade, but that's kind of what I've been doing. And that brings us to Ben, who, like I mentioned, his musical tastes are really unmatched. They're spectacular. So like I reached out to him and I was just like, hey, you want to talk about music in the 90s? And here he is. The rest is history. So he's graciously agreed to talk to us. But before we get started on any of that, Ben, I'm wondering if you can talk to us a little bit about how music inspires your climbing and your training.
Yeah, that's a rad question. I've no one's ever asked me before. But it is huge for my training and climbing. I have a bunch of different playlists that I pick through to set, like, depending on the energy that I want to bring to the session or the climbing. And I've played a lot with it, and I've had a lot of like backlash, I would say, because I listen to a lot of music most people don't listen to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So like I've had my DJ or like aux privileges revoked in most of the like training centers.
That's terrible. What are these people doing?
Yeah, I listen to like a bunch of different stuff. And it kind of depends on the energy that I'm feeling that day or that I'm trying to bring to the session. Lately I've been listening to like a lot of electronic music. I don't really know a lot about the genres, so I'm not gonna put out a genre and then have someone tell me how wrong I am.
Yeah, call you out.
But that's been like really fun lately. It brings a lot of like good energy to the session. But I also, when I'm alone, I listen to like a lot of punk rock and a lot of metal, which was kind of hard for this playlist, because I realized how many of my songs that come from the playlist are either like 2001 or like 88 or 89.
They're missing
like,
the cut.
Metallica's gone, Disturbed's gone.
For sure.
It was so rough. I was like, oh, I got this. And I like pulled up all these albums and it was all just like immediately cut. It was like 89, 88, or like 2002.
That's rough. So like, where do you get your musical background from? Are you from like a musical family or friends? Like, what kind of pushed your musical preferences growing up?
I learned a lot of my music taste comes from my dad and my mom. My dad listened to like a lot of punk rock when I was growing up. Probably like too young for kids. No, not too young for kids, but like I have like some very distinct memories of like me and my sister being in the car listening to NoFX at like she must have been 2 and I was like 4.
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
and so I listened to like a lot of punk rock growing up. And it started to like branch out as I like looked into music on my own, but a lot of it stemmed off what my dad listened to.
Right.
Um, and then as I like grew up, I'd introduce myself to new genres via other people that were like important into my life. And like they would introduce me to like, cause like, so like Chris Crosser, is one of my really good friends and he listens, we train a lot together. And so he was the one to like introduce me to like house and heavy EDM and like electric music,
Yeah.
which is what I've been listening to a lot of our sessions because that's the one we have common ground
That's
on.
cool. Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I don't know. You have a million interviews out there, and rightly so. I think you're so dynamic in that sense, but I don't know when it was. It was not new, but it mentioned that one of your favorite bands was Bad Religion, and I
Oh
was
yeah.
wondering, is that like a byproduct of your dad listening to Bad Religion, or is
Yeah,
that something you found?
100%. Yeah, totally. Bad Religion, No Effects are like definitely just straight from my dad from like my infant years. Um, my dad had a cover band, and I don't know. I was too young, so like I don't know how good they were.
Yeah,
But I like remember. It was before I was 8 because we moved when I was 8, and so like he um turned our garage into a like soundproofed it and they would like go play there. So like I remember walking up when I was, I mean, maybe 5 or 6 and like listening to him play covers of No Effects songs.
that's so
Um,
fun.
and like the big albums for me, which I don't think they made the cut because they're like 2002, which were was like New Maps of Hell.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite album of all time.
Oh,
It's like one of the
awesome.
very few albums I'll just like listen from start to finish and then can turn around and listen to it from start to finish
Yeah,
again
for
all the
sure.
way through.
Again,
Um,
over and over on
over and
repeat.
over
I
again.
feel
I
that
love
completely.
Bad Religion so much. They're my favorite band. I've seen them like multiple times in concert, which is
That's
always super exciting because I'm like, man, this might be the last time they play a concert. They're
I
getting
know for
old.
sure. I reached out to Greg Graffin to see if he'd pop in today, but he's not. So I want to get to. I was like, that'd be so cool because like he's got a background in rocks and geology and all this really cool stuff. But
Totally.
anyway, I don't want to get your hopes up and then shatter them. I'll just shatter them immediately. But I was just like, man, it would be so cool if you could just pop in and give us your 90s playlist. But it's not happening.
It
If
wasn't
it ever
happening.
does, I'm gonna reach back out to you. We'll do it.
Yes, please do.
I was thinking
Um,
today, like just kind of going over some of these things and thinking about, different bands. It's like you said, they keep making albums and they keep showing up, but that's not going to last forever.
totally.
Back when I was an undergrad, one of my friends, I grew up in Detroit and there's this venue called Clutch Cargo's, which is an old church that was converted into like a really cool concert venue. And Bad Religion was going to be there. And he worked for the college paper and he had an interview and he's like, I get to meet him. Like, you got to come to this concert. And I had a chemistry final the next day. And that was one of those decisions I was just like, you got to study. Like, you can't just not study. And to this day, I'm just like, I probably should have just skipped the
I should
test.
have gone.
But nonetheless, I feel the same way. They're an amazing band. That being said, I come up with all these ridiculous rules for myself on these lists. And one of those rules is I don't use a band more than once. So like if I use them once, I know no, that doesn't have to apply to you. You can have 10 Bad Religion songs, but I used I Want to Conquer the World on my 1980s playlist. And
Yeah.
so that cut me out of Bad Religion for the 90s. So I'm really hoping that you can come through and like bring up the Bad Religion average
Oh,
for the
I
90s.
got a couple. I limited myself. I made up a bunch of rules too because I was like, I can't
So
just have all of, you know, um, one Bad Religion album is my like top 10.
it's
So I
so
limited
easy to do
myself to
though.
one Bad Religion song per album.
Oh, nice. That's great. That playlist in itself would be like a best of. That sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
it's so good.
For sure. So, I'm just thinking, I kind of mentioned this, that we would just alternate songs. Like you mentioned a song, and then we'll have, 20 to 22, depending on how many like extra songs we give ourselves at the end, and we'll just kind of go from there. I plan on like putting this up on Spotify, so whoever wants like the greatest climbing Craglist ever assembled, like it'll be yours
That
to
sounds
use
so
however you
good.
want to do it. So, yeah, you're the guest here today, so maybe you would be all right going first with your first song.
Yeah, I'd love to. So my first song was Self Esteem
Nice.
on the Offspring Smash album.
That's perfect. Yeah, that man, it's such a powerful song too. Yeah, and I want to mention, I don't know if it's for you. My songs are in no particular order, so I'm not just like this is the best of the 90s. Also, like just for all the listeners, I don't think Ben and I are giving you the best songs of the 90s. Like there's a certain mood that you got to follow for a playlist. You know what I'm saying? So
Totally.
it's one of those things. Offspring's an absolutely spectacular start. All right, so this one, just a quick anecdote, and I promise I'll stop like hogging the conversation. I feel bad, but I had a They Might Be Giants song up for my first one, and I heard this song that I hadn't heard in a long time on the way home from the Proclaimers.
Okay.
It's I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles. I don't know if you know that song by the Scottish band.
Is that like I'd walk 500
Yeah, yeah,
miles?
that one.
Yeah, that
And
one's
like
banger.
it's a banger. And I envisioned while I heard it, I was like, if I'm on a road trip, like everybody in the car is singing this song. So that's my first one. The Proclaimers, I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles.
That's a good one. I like that one a lot.
All right, what do you got for number two?
I got 46 and 2 by
Oh,
Tool.
so good. This is already spectacular. All right. For number two for me, I went with a band called the Flaming Lips. I'm not sure if you know who they are, but they have this song called Do You Realize? It is spectacular. I think like anybody of any genre would love this song. So that's my number two, Flaming Lips. Do You Realize?
I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Yeah,
I bet
you
I
have to.
don't know a lot of the songs you list without listening to them. I bet that's a big one for me. Like I most songs, unless I like know them, you'll
Yeah.
say the name and I'll be like, ah, no, it's not that. And I'll look up and I'm like, I can't believe I said I didn't know that song.
100%. It's like once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, I do know the song. This
Yeah.
is this is a great song. All right, so we got Offspring, we got Tool, we got the Proclaimers, the Flaming Lips. What do you have for your third song?
So I have 11 songs on my um playlist, and this is where the deciding factor of which one is gonna make it is
Yeah,
because the next song doesn't really go with the playlist I made. Um, but my question is, do we count a song that was remastered
great question.
in the 90s?
I say yes. Like if we can get
Okay,
more songs on the list, the better.
so I'm gonna leave that for later.
We'll put
And
an
my next
asterisk on that
song
one.
is The Generator
Oh,
by Bad Religion.
man. Yeah,
Banger.
done. We can stop right there. It's such a good song. Immediately with Bad Religion, you hear the harmonies and it's just like, all right, yes, I'm ready to go. That man, this is a great
Such
list.
a good one.
All right.
And that was one I picked too, because I picked Bad Religion songs that aren't just like one of my favorites, but I also
Yeah.
like I'll show like if I ever do like a long road trip, like the passenger has to listen to my spiel about Bad Religion at some point.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I picked Bad Religion songs that like generally get like, oh, I liked that one. Like
That's
that
really
one. And
smart.
so those were the Bad Religion songs I picked are the ones that were like generally most liked by people that don't listen to Bad
Oh,
Religion.
that's so smart. You know how it is where like you're hoping somebody's gonna like a song that you like and you play it for them and they're just waiting for it to end. Like that's not happening with Generator.
Totally.
That's perfect. So um I don't know. There's just some appeal I have for two things. One, if people like drop all the music and then there's just a bass, I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And then the other time is the opposite, when people drop the bass and just stick with the music. But this next one, I'm going with what I think is one of the best bass intros ever. My Name is Mud by Primus. So that's made the cut. All right, what do you got next?
All right. Next, I got 21st Century Digital
Oh,
Boy.
yes.
Banger.
I'm so
Amazing.
happy you're coming through so hard right now. Yeah, that song's perfect.
That one's good. I forget what album. I think it was this album. I think this one is Against the Grain. Um, I think this was the album that it debuted on. Um, and I love this song so much. Because I don't know if you've read their book.
No, I have.
Um, yeah, they've got this great book. I don't actually read that much, but I've listened to a bunch of Audible books,
Yeah.
and that's when I listen to and I like on car rides will make people, excuse me, listen to part of the Bad Religion book. Um, and the cool one about like 21st Century Digital Boy is they do this cool like uh reach back, or I forget what the word is, but like to some of their past albums. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
like there was like something about Suffer, and then the other previous album. They're like
Yeah.
their albums coming up to that one. I don't know. I just love that so much. That little anecdote.
No, I was just thinking like if let's say I was lucky enough to be like some hitchhiker in some climbing destination and you and the crew pull up to pick me up and you start like laying out some bad religion facts, I'd be like, what have I died and gone to heaven? This is amazing. So whoever your passengers are, like I hope they appreciate what you're giving to them. I think it's cool. All right, so where are we? I went with another song that comes with some heavy bass. There's a song called Cannonball by the Breeders. It's just like it's infectious. So yeah, that was my next one.
Cannonball.
Yeah, what do you got next?
Um, we want to mix it up a little bit, and I'm gonna go with Linoleum.
Oh, that's so man. I
Which
um I was so close to picking Linoleum and I have a no effects song. I cut it out for the other one. So like I said, I have that one band rule. And so I was
yes,
like, man, I don't want to cut out Linoleum. It's too good. So again, like, man, this is ideal. All right,
it's
so
so
my next
good.
one, I think punk rock and rap music are just the type of music give me energy. So I brought in a rap song here. Outcast, Rosa Parks is just a classic. So I had
Sick,
to throw that in there. Yeah, for sure.
sick. I ended up getting rid of my rap song
Oh, all right.
because of the remastered.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you which one it was at the end of
All
the
right, perfect.
playlist.
I like that. We'll just build the suspense on it.
So the next one is Bro Hymn from
Oh, yeah, that's so good.
Pennywise.
Pennywise, right.
Yeah, and it was like one of the very few songs that made the 1990 um list, and it's remastered in like the album that I picked it from it's remastered in 2005, but the original album was 1991.
That's all
So
that
I
matters.
decided it counts.
You made the cut. I would
I'm
agree with that
I'm
completely.
taking it.
It comes out in 91. That absolutely counts. And what a great song. Again, like you can imagine something like that on a road trip and everybody's singing it. Like
So good.
it's
I
too good.
One of my first concerts, I think my dad took me to like a reggae concert when I was really young. And then when I was like 15, it was like the day before high school started. He took me and my sister to I think it was Edgefest. And it was uh Pennywise opened, and then um Bad Religion played, and then Sublime with Rome played, and then The Offspring closed. And
Unreal.
that was like my introduction to my dad had Pennywise um record, and I think it was this record, the one that was remastered in 2005.
Yeah.
Um, but I never really listened to it. Um, I listened to a little bit like leading up to the concert, and
Yeah.
then that was when I discovered um, Smash and The Offspring, and like You're Gonna Go Far, Kid, which I'm so bummed is like I think it's like 2005 or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, but that song was like, oh, and then The Offspring played Smash all the way from start to finish,
Oh
which was
man,
so sick.
that's the best way.
But my favorite memory from the concert, because like Bad Religion was my favorite band, so I was like psyched, I was losing my mind.
Heck yeah.
And my dad got pit tickets for us.
No way.
And I was like telling all my friends, like, I'm gonna go mosh pit. It's gonna be so sick. It's gonna be so metal. And then Pennywise like started playing their pit song just right off
Yeah.
the bat. They're like, all right, let's go. And they just like started their pit song. And I was like, absolutely the fuck not. And I
I'm
like
not
dipped out.
going it under any
I
circumstances.
was like, no, thank you. I weigh like 110 pounds. There's no way I'm gonna caught dead in this.
That's so funny.
And then the next thing I know, I'm like looking at the pit, and my dad comes rolling around the pit doing the like classic 90's like
Yeah,
pit dance.
for
And I was
sure.
like, that's my dad. And it was to Bro Him, I think, that I like saw him coming around the circle. And I was like, what are you doing? You're gonna get hurt.
Whoa. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're the guy that cuts my like hot dogs or something like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What a great memory. What an
Oh, it
awesome
was so
concert too.
good.
Yeah, for sure. All
And that
right.
was
Yeah,
when I realized how sick my parents were.
yeah, yeah. You get to that point, you're like, okay, yeah, these people are actually really cool. All right, my next one is No Effects Longest Line.
Sick. Okay. Tight,
It's a
tight,
good one,
tight.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad you approve. Like that's a like respectable stamp of approval. Thank you. All right, what do you got next?
What do I got next? Okay. Stranger Than Fiction by Bad Religion.
Bad Religion. Yeah, it's
Just
great.
another super nice, like just banger and 90-second song.
It's just kind of speaking about some of these bands from the 90's, but Bad Religion, probably more than most bands, maybe not all, but most. Like the amount of thought that they put into their lyrics, it's great music. And like the drums on that are insane. Like it's just absolutely bananas how hard the
Drums on that
drums
are
hit.
insane. That's
And
one of the like the all the Bad Religion songs I picked are those ones that have that like deep belly feeling when
yes,
you're like you can feel it in your
yeah,
soul.
you
You're
can
like,
feel it.
yeah.
Yeah, and like you can kind of get that feeling with Tool too, where they kind of have this build up where Bad Religion just like hits you in the gut immediately.
Yeah,
By the end of a
totally.
Tool song, you're just like, holy crap, well, this is an emotional experience that I'm having thanks to
Yeah,
like
exactly.
the integrity of this music. That's so good. All right, so for my next one, this one I was going back and forth. Another rule that I generally have is I try not to hit like the most mainstream songs from a
Yeah,
particular decade because I'm like those get the airplay. They don't need to be on every playlist. But I picked Alice in Chains Wood just because I don't know. I don't know. This is a great song. It's another one of those songs that
yeah,
has like an emotional aspect to it. Like by the end of it, you've gone through an emotional roller coaster. It feels great.
totally. Oh,
Yeah.
dude,
All
so
right.
good. Oh, I'm coming up on the end. Okay. Fight Till You Die by Pennywise.
Another great one. Yeah, this is great. I need to reach out to like to some of these band members again, and we'll redo this with them, like just telling
We
us like what was their inspiration to these songs.
totally. I had this idea. There's this climb I bolted in New Mexico that I called the Punk. Um, and I haven't done it yet. I think it's going to be like quite hard.
Yeah.
Um, it's this extension to this climb called the Funk, and it
Okay.
just made sense for me to call it the Punk because I was like, I'm just this punk rock. I bolted it when I was like 2015 on like um what's that holiday that happens in November? I forget. Thanksgiving break.
Thank you. Yeah.
Um, and in their book, they talk about how um, at some point the surfer reached out or the skater reached out and was like, "Hey, like we want to use your music in this like surf edit or the skate edit. Like, can we use your music?" And they're like, "Yeah,
Um,
totally. Like that sounds sick, and like that's free publicity for us." And I was like, "Damn, I have to get a hold of like Greg or
you have to for
yeah, and
that.
like
Yeah.
get the rights to some Bad Religion songs for like the
Yeah.
punk edit
Uh,
because I think that would be so hard.
Oh, that would be so perfect. What a dream come true. So, I daydream all the time. And so I don't know if it's still around. There used to be something called the Warp Tour,
Yeah,
where it's
yeah,
basically like punk rock bands and skateboarders just like doing their thing side by side. I'm like, we need something like that for climbers. Like
totally.
good punk rock music and some like sick climbing wall, just having fun and like crushing. But
Yeah,
just you mentioning that route, I'm excited. Like I just wanted to look at it so I can be inspired by like, yeah, let's see what Bad Religion song would go along with this. But man, you got to do it. You've got like some amazing videos. That's got to join the
uh,
list for sure.
thank you. Yeah, no, I'm psyched. There was the hope was for it to be in polarized when polarized was still like a dream.
Yeah.
Um, and then it turns out I was not as good as I thought I was. The polarized dream was a lot bigger than it turned out to be.
Yeah.
I will say that I was handicapped heavily by the weather that year.
Yeah.
I had like one fall. I was like, I'm gonna do like make this sick edit. And then every single rock climb that I was trying for the edit was just soaking wet all spring. And
Man.
so I was just like battling wet holds the whole time.
Brutal. Yeah, that's not
But I
right.
think for like polarized 2 or polarized 3, that'll be like
That'd be
in the
awesome.
video for sure.
Man, that'll it's gonna happen. Like I'm just putting nothing but positive vibes on that one. That's so
It's
that's
gonna
really cool.
happen for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I love
psyched.
it. All right. Am I up or are you up?
You're up. Yeah,
I'm
you're up.
up. All right. So yeah. Um, this one was a no-brainer for me. Mass Appeal by Gangstar. And I don't know if you know who Gangstar is or if any of the listeners do. Man, that is to me in terms of rap, it doesn't get any better than Gangstar. They're so good. And it's similar. This is maybe one of the reasons I kind of like rap and punk rock is for me at least, the kind of music that I'm drawn to is the kind of music that makes you think and is a little bit deeper. And man, Gangstar is just it's amazing. So the
Totally.
song is mass appeal. It's spectacular.
I feel like punk rock and rap music are like two edges of the same sword.
I
Like
agree.
the original 80s rap and the original like 80s punk rock are like
And yeah,
the same people just doing they're just running different groups just right next to each other.
that's such a good way to put it. I mean, you can just absolutely envision it. Like you got these young people who have something to say and like aren't being listened to in other outlets.
Exactly. And they like don't
Music.
quite fit in or they're angry at the
Yeah.
world.
And that's one of the real beautiful things about art. You know, like just not only music, but any type of art where it allows people to express themselves in new ways. So music
Totally.
is that for sure. All right. So yeah, you're up. What do you got next?
I got Don't Drag Me Down by Social Distortion.
Oh, such a good song. I haven't heard that in so long. Yeah,
Oh,
great.
I love that
Social,
one. That
yeah, that
one came off my playlist that I made in 2019 or 20, like 2020, right when I moved to Salt Lake City.
oh yeah.
Um, and the playlist is called This Is Why People Don't Like You.
Oh, that's so
And
good.
sadly, none of the other songs made it. They were all like 2001 or like 80s.
Yeah,
But it's like a short 15-minute, or not 15-minute, 15 song, maybe 10 song playlist
that's so cool.
of just like grunge punk rock that everyone hates when I put on in the car. And so it's my playlist for me when I'm by myself. It's like, all right, I get to listen to my playlist. This is why
Now I
people
get to
hate
pick
me.
whatever. I get the aux cord now. That's awesome. What was I gonna say? In terms of like w your playlist and where you are you still like bringing some songs in from back then, or are you like kind of just pushing your new list in a new direction?
um, that same playlist,
Yeah.
or
No, no,
I haven't
just in
added to that
general.
playlist in a minute. That one stayed short. I ended up making. There's been like a couple like playlists that are very similar and have a lot of the same overlapping songs.
Yeah.
And the closest one to that I've recently made was called um, where is it? So I had um playlists by me. So I had This Is Why People Don't Like You, and then I
That's great.
remade it, and there's like another playlist that's very similar, um, called I Said Fucking Break Something. And
Okay.
it's just a little bit longer and it's very similar song. It's got like Anti Flag, Bad Religion, Social Distortion, No Use for a Name, The Offspring, Tool, Against All Authority, Breaking Benjamin. This one was a little longer. And this
Okay.
one like kept like I stuck with it for a little bit longer. And that's just like my angry punk rock
I like that.
playlist.
Yeah, yeah,
We
that's
like
good.
turn it to 11. It's the kind of playlist I was thinking about this on the drive to work the other day. Listening to the third iteration of this playlist, which is the recent one's called Dead Weight, which I made because me and Kai are going to Vegas in October
Oh, nice.
to try a project. And he called me at some point and was like checking in, and he was like, "You better be training. I don't need to be carrying your dead weight again." And I was like, "All right, let's go." So I made
Oh,
this like training playlist. It's
oh,
just
that's so cool.
angry and loud.
That's great. Like just now you made it.
Yeah. This
Like,
playlist is like 2 weeks old,
no, that's so
45
cool.
minutes long. A lot of the songs didn't make it because they're all from the 80s.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of Metallica, like Audio Slave, like a Stone,
Oh, yeah.
Limp Bizkit, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Rob Zombie, Bush, Black Sabbath. I have Skillet in there.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice. Man, I feel like when climbers, especially like up and coming climbers, get a hold of your playlist, they're going to be strong. Like you're going to be stronger if you listen to Ben Hanna's playlist. Do you have your playlist set on available to the public or no?
I do, yeah. Most
Oh,
of them
good.
are. I took some of them off, but most of them are available to playlist, available to listen. Like if you find my profile on
Oh,
Spotify.
perfect. All right. So two things, young climbers, like one, follow Ben on Spotify and then like work out like he works out. Like those are motivational songs. All right, where are we? I should have kept better track. Is it my turn or your turn? You just do.
It's your turn. Yeah. Now I
All
gotta
right.
find this playlist. Where is this? My 90s playlist.
Yeah, yeah. So
But I think it's your turn.
Yeah, as you're doing that, there's this another rapper by the name of Del the Funky Homo Sapien who is so good. I just think he's undervalued, and like he had this album come out in the 90's, and it's one of those that you were talking about. It's like every single song on that album is great, and then you can listen to it again, you're like, what is going on? How is there's so many like albums that have come out that are just like, there's a good song or two or three or sometimes five, and every once in a while there's all of them. But man, he's got this song called a 1-2, and it is spectacular.
Sick.
Yeah, it's great. I really think you're gonna love it. So yeah, that's number 9. We each got one more or five more, depending on how many.
Do we only have one more?
No,
Oh no.
we I think
One,
this will be our 10th one, but we can go longer. Like I have some that I'm just like, just in case.
I did put 12 songs on.
Great, even
Oh
better.
no.
Like this is why I had you on today. Like I need to break the rules. There's too many good songs. I
Too many
once
good songs.
I once tried to make this argument to a friend at a coffee shop, and it was wild. Um, by the end of this discussion, there were like people surrounding our table, like just trying to like make contributions. And I tried to make the point. I was like, I think the 90's is the pinnacle of all music in every other decade. And the reason why I was just like, look, if you love like hair bands, they're still flopping around in the 90's. If
Yeah,
you like grunge, you couldn't have got that in the 80's. You needed, so there's rap, there's R&B, there's like still good metal. There's just a little bit for everybody. And it might not be the best version of all those songs, but it was all there. And
totally.
that was my argument for the 90's.
It's a good argument. I was having this interesting my thoughts on that was like I felt like the 90's were like the and this was like this is just the music that I've listened to, but I found I was like, oh man, the 90's is hard because you like it like there's so much good music that happened like right before the 90's, like in the like 88, 89.
Oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
so good. And like, I mean, if let's be honest, like it's 90's. Like
Yeah,
I even like
I
like a 90's
agree.
playlist and I had all this music and it was like 98 or 80, 88, 89. It's like,
Yeah.
and then it trickles into like all the way to like 2005 where it's like it's still 90's. It
I
just was released
agree.
in 2002.
Exactly. You don't tell me what year it is. Like I know that this is the 90's. That's spectacular. That's really funny. All right, what do you got next?
All right, so for my last song, I'm going with I'm skipping over the remastered in 89 because I thought that
Okay.
I had 11 songs, but it turns out I had 12. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
skip that song. I'll leave it to the end. But for the last one, for the 10, to keep it 10, I'm going "Killing Into the Name"
Oh,
by Rage Against the Machine, which
such a
is
great
just
choice.
just the I cannot believe I almost missed that one.
So yeah, I wanted that song on my list so badly because it's just of the best. It's so good.
So good.
And then I was just like, all right, it's too hard. There's too many good songs in the 90's. And I know that I'm gonna do one for the 2000's, and I was just like, I'm gonna like squeeze their next album onto my
Yeah,
playlist. So I was just
exactly.
like, I was so hopeful. I'm just like, Ben's gonna come through with Bad Religion, and now you come through with Killing in the Name of. Yes, this is great. So for my last one, I went with a German band that was signed to Epithet Records called Wizzo.
Sick.
Um, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they have this song called Tod im Freibad.
Okay.
I think translates to mean, I'm sorry to any German speakers out there. I think it translates to death in the swimming pool or something like that. But you gotta listen to this song. And I,
Okay.
I promise you're gonna have it on repeat. You're gonna be like, what was that? So good. So that was number 10 for me. We go with another punk rock song by a band called Wizzo out of Germany. So now
Tight.
we're kind of just going into extra music. These are like the B-sides that we're sort of adding in the background. So whatever else you
Amazing.
got left over,
I
let's
love
hear
it.
it.
All right. So the first song I took off the playlist because it just didn't fit with the playlist, but it's great, is My Name Is by Eminem,
Yeah.
which is just a
Oh,
banger.
that was man. I swear we're like linked up. So I mentioned I heard that song 500 miles on the way home. I was listening to this 90s station, and then that came on next, and I was like, this is from 1999. I had no idea, but at that point I was like, I can't alter the list, but perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
So good.
And then
Um,
yeah,
yeah, my remastered is The Trooper by Iron Maiden. And it
That's
was
so
like the only Iron Maiden song that made it on the list because it was like one of the only songs that made it in the 90s.
yeah, for sure. Holy crap. Yeah, this is you get Iron Maiden on it. We're putting, by the way, like we're not the original rules are 10 apiece, but we're putting whatever, 22, 25. We're putting extra songs on this list. It's for the people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Mostly it's for me, but also it's for the
It's for
people.
me.
All right. One song that was tough for me to cut out was Hand on the Pump by Cypress Hill. I'm just like Cypress Hill is like a killer rap group from the 90s, and it was tough to cut them out, but I had to. So I'll throw them on the extras as well.
Sick.
So
I'm glad you're coming through with the rap because I didn't even really put any like and then like Sublime with Rome, I could have put them in there too, but
yeah,
I was like I decided to go with like a proper playlist that,
yeah.
I was like, okay, if we're listening to, I wanted to like keep it with I'm glad you're coming through with the rap because I was like, I'm gonna get so much hate mail from not
Yeah.
putting any rap from the 90s on my playlist.
No, it's wild. So I've been posting these playlists to our website, and people are pretty nice in the comments. But I'll get emails who are just like, "How dare you leave like Led Zeppelin off in the '70s?" And I try to explain like Led Zeppelin's great, but they're on every playlist. Like I get some hate mail in there. Like, people
No,
just
totally.
disagree, but hopefully between the two of us, we'll cover most of the grounds. So, one song that I left off because there was just no room for it is I don't even know it was a boy band, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everybody, I'm just like that's the type of song that when it comes on, no matter who you are, like you know that song and you're singing in the back seat in the
Yeah,
front
you're
seat.
singing it.
It does not fit with any of the other songs on any playlist I've ever made, but I feel like if you leave a boy band off of a 90s playlist, like not quite representing the 90s. So
Totally.
it was an easy cut, but it was a cut that I thought a lot about.
That's
So
awesome.
all right. If you got a couple more minutes, I have a question from a friend for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I mentioned I grew up in Detroit, but I live in Houston. I teach in Houston, and we just flew back from Wyoming, a climbing trip out in Wyoming, and we were sitting at the baggage carousel, and on loop was Ben Hanna playing over and over, like on a Santa Fe tourism commercial. And so I was just like, I, I was really impressed. I was just like, I wonder if this is playing everywhere, if they're just really trying to get Houston people in. But she swears that you forced like a back flag on one of those moves, and she was like, that is totally unnecessary. This is staged. And I'm just like, I don't know that route. I don't know if it's staged. So I'm reaching out to you to see one, if you remember what video they used for that tourism commercial.
Which back flag? Oh man. Was it on a boulder or a lead climb?
It was on I think it was on a lead climb, almost 90%. Look, if I'm gonna next time it's literally always playing. You might be the most popular person in Houston right now.
That's
It's
awesome.
always on. Next time I'm at the airport, which I think I might be there in a couple of weeks, I'm just gonna record it and then I can like send you video evidence. So if you don't remember what it is, I can be like,
I'm,
here it is.
I'm trying to think. So that's pretty funny you brought that up. So that sport climb, that's the punk.
Oh no, what? You're kidding me. What are the chances? That's so awesome.
That's the punk. I'm trying to think if there's a back flag because if yeah, if it's the lead climb, there's like we filmed on. They reached out to me and they were like, hey, like I had no idea it was going to be this big. I had no idea. They were like, hey, we're doing
That's
this thing
big.
for like New Mexico True. Like we asked around, like you seem to be the guy to like talk to, like, would you be interested in coming back to New Mexico for like a weekend and like filming this thing with us? I was like, yeah, that'd be great. Um, we want to do like a couple different spots. It might have been, oh, you know what? That one I probably did force a back flag on.
Oh, she's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
feel
yeah.
so vindicated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are vindicated. She is. So there was so they asked me like, we want to do like show all the different parts of New Mexico, so like different areas and different landscapes because New Mexico has so much to offer. And I was like, yeah, sounds great. Um, but I was like really adamant about like having some real rock climbing in there. I was like, we're gonna
Yeah,
film
good
on
for
like
you.
the real stuff.
Yeah.
So there's like I think there's two edits that are out in circulation. Um, there's a lot of footage that got put together, and there's like a boulder problem that was pretty cool. It's called like Prostitutes from Space or something.
Yeah.
It's like a Jason Kaline and Roy, and it's super sick. It's this like climb I tried way back when, which is a totally different 45-minute long tangent. But I never did, so I went back and was like, this one would be like the cool one to do in Roy because it's just so big and like
Yeah.
this just massive ice cube block in the middle of the riverbed. Um, I did that one, and then we went to the back cave, and they're like, which one should we film on? And I was like, we're filming on the punk. We're doing like the hardest,
That's
you
so
know,
cool.
no fakery on this one. So like one of the edits has me like trying doing the moves on this like 515 proj
Oh,
in New
that's so
Mexico.
cool. That's
Um,
awesome.
and then the third one is in um I'm blanking on the name, and we could sit here for the next 5 minutes before I remember it. But it's up past um uh wherever they had dropped the atom, they made the atom bomb.
Oh, right. Okay.
Um blank on the name again. Los Alamos.
Okay.
It's a crag I grew up climbing at when I was like a kid. And it's just this like 5'11" that they're like, we're
Nice.
filming this on. And of course, I was having a great time. I went way off route and was just
Oh,
like making up. I like made up this boulder problem
it's
way
so
off
funny.
route that was just like totally not the rock. There's like this line of jugs, and I was up like 5 inches space that had no
That's
holds on it, like falling all over it. Um,
that sounds
and
like
that probably was like either a faked back flag or like I was playing an eliminate on the climb because I
oh,
was
man, that's so funny. That's awesome. All right, so just two more questions. Just recommendations, really. So if somebody's going to New Mexico, what would be a crag that you would recommend that people should jump into?
oh man, that's a good question. One that doesn't get enough love, I think, is called the Dungeon.
Okay.
And it's another Los Alamos crag. It's like the local Los Alamos crag. All the scientists go up there like after work because it's like 5 minutes from work.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
but it's pretty rad crag. I haven't been there in probably 15 years, maybe 10
Yeah.
years. So it probably looks a lot different than like what I
Yeah.
remember when I was a teenager. But it's like some pretty cool, unique rock. Um, and there's this like sweet 513B there called Death Drives a Stick, and it's like pretty sick. It's pretty
Really?
spectacular. It's got
All
some
right.
like hard face bulgy climbing at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then you climb like a bolt or two of this like flat face, and then you get just like perfect 513 jug haul through the roof, and you're just
Oh,
paddling
man.
these like it's this like shale rock, I think is
Okay.
the word for it, where it's just like these like plates of granite that are just all stacked on top of each other. So you're climbing the bottom of this roof. It's all these like slate plates. So
Yeah.
they're just like these perfectly flat brick jugs, like very like
Awesome.
exactly what you would think of like the flagstone
That's so
that people
cool.
like build patios out of, like very similar to like just a bunch of flagstone
Oh, wow.
jugs.
That sounds awesome.
And then you get to the tip of it, and there's like this like band of like flagstone, and then it goes the other way. And so then you have to
Cool.
mantle this like slate face, and all the holds are like it's this like little tiny stair stepping, and it's like very crux mantle at the top. And I remember that one being like super fun, super rad. Um, and then the other place that has like probably one of my top five rock climbs
Yeah.
ever is called the Enchanted Tower, and that's
Okay.
like the place to go.
All right.
Access is interesting. The Enchanted Tower itself is like um, totally legit. I think public land or BML land maybe. You can
Okay.
go there, you can camp. It's totally chill. Um, but the original access was like through someone's. You'd like go through someone's property,
That's
and
nice.
like I don't know what the easement is like, and so there was this like constant battle between the landowners,
Oh, yeah.
and like when my dad was growing up and climbing there, like when he
Yeah.
was younger than me, because it was before he had me, so he
Right.
must have been like 21 or 20 when he was in college. um they had like a good handshake deal with the owner of the house. They were just
Okay.
like, yeah, there's a gate, just like turn your lights off when you come in at night.
Oh, nice.
um And then I think that man passed away like a little, not so like, I think it was a sketchy, like foul play.
Oh, what? Great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I might just be like totally biffing right now. But I'm pretty sure there was like some foul play, and then like the situation and like that house changed, and maybe it was like that it was like someone's second house, and it was like the dude who lived there and maintained the property that it was in. But they started locking the gate, and so it's like becomes
Oh
you
yeah.
you like, I don't know what the deal is now, but like in 2019 or 2018 it was like not so cool to drive through there, so you have to take like a much longer route around.
Gotcha.
um but man, the Enchanted Tower is like amazing. It's like welded tuft, like Smith rock,
Yeah.
but the pockets are like just bigger. It's like very similar to
Sounds great.
Smith rock, but it's like instead of 513 and 514, it's like 511 and 512.
All right.
um and Goliath is like the Enchanted Tower itself is this giant tower that just like comes up off this hill. So it's like super steep hill.
Yeah.
It's super steep, super long, and then the Enchanted Tower comes up like this. And Goliath just rides the arete for like 110 feet.
No way.
And it's just this like amazing 513A. It was my first 513. Um, and it's like perfect. It's like a ret jug climbing. You're just like grabbing these giant big pockets, and
Yeah.
then you like do this little boulder problem through the like where it goes from like vert to like steep and then back to vert, and
Okay.
you pull the face and you're just like bricked pumped, and you're on two finger pockets, and you're just like, oh, I'm so, and you can't really shake because you're just standing on like,
Yeah.
Smith rock pockets.
No
um
way.
yeah, it's sick. And you top it out, untie your rope, and walk off the back.
Oh, that's
And you're
perfect.
just like 300 feet off the ground because it goes over this hill. So when you like lean off the edge, you're looking over the road. Um,
Massive
it's perfect
exposure.
rock climb. It's like absolutely perfect.
Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing, amazing climbing. And then for bouldering, like Roy is the spot to go for sure. It's
Okay.
the best like rock in New Mexico. And that one also is like tricky. A lot of New Mexico is tricky access. Um,
Okay.
I always thought it was funny. I went to Jumbo Love this year for the first time to go
Oh,
check
cool.
that out.
Yeah.
And like anyone who knows Jumbo Love knows that it's like the most heinous drive and the most heinous hike, and you're out in the middle of the desert, and it's just so hard, and it's just so crazy to get there, and it's such a big deal. And we drove out there, and I was like, this is a standard day in New Mexico.
This is literally what we had to do in New Mexico every day.
Like
Stop and
every
ready.
dumpy crag ever, like to go climbing in New Mexico, you have to make that
Oh
exact
man.
same trip.
Yeah, yeah. All right. That's great.
It's
My,
so, it was so, I was like, I thought it was so funny because everyone was like such a big deal out of it. And like the Bat Cave was like the place that I grew up climbing. That was like my place where I could have like hard rock climbs to try.
yeah.
And it's like a 4 hour drive. It's like a 3 hour drive from Santa Fe on the highway, and then like an hour drive on the road, and then like a 20-minute hike, 30-minute hike up this like
Brutal.
just, and it's exactly the same as Jumbo Love, except for Jumbo Love's like 40 minutes from town.
Yeah.
And then like the drive on the dirt road's like a little bit shorter and a little bit easier going to Jumbo
It's
Love.
barely anything. You're like,
It's the same thing.
this is
Standard issue New Mexico rock climbing.
yeah, that's great. All right, that's a great warning too. So if you are going climbing in New Mexico anytime soon, be ready to suffer before you get
Yeah,
to
the
suffer.
4x4 truck is like mandatory in New
Okay.
Mexico
All right.
for sure.
That's perfect. All right. So my favorite thing about all of that is when you're like, I haven't been there in 15 years, but here's the exact sequence of the beta on this. Like, that is a great memory. So one more question. We got, let's just say somebody's in Santa Fe for a night, and you get to recommend a place to eat. Like, where are you telling somebody to go?
Ooh, that's a good one. There's a spot called Diego's, which was like my favorite. And it closed
Oh,
and
come on.
reopened.
Oh, good. That was like a
Same
tragedy
location,
and
same
greatness.
family, and I forget what it's called now.
Okay.
But they own three locations, and they're all different. Like it's like the dad owns one, and like the brother owns one, and like the sister owns one. And so like they're all run by different, you know, family members, but they're all like just fire New Mexican food.
Awesome.
And now I'm trying to remember what any of them are called.
Yeah, that's all right. We can like
Um,
find the history of Diego's in Santa Fe. I'm sure we'll like pull on a string and it'll unravel.
yeah, no, it's in the DeVargas Mall. And it's um the front entrance. You like walk in the front entrance of the DeVargas Mall, and it's like it's right there. And it starts with an A, I'm almost positive. And I can look it up on Google Maps actually, because Santa Fe is so small, I can pull up Santa Fe on
Yeah,
Google Maps and find everything.
it'll take you 2 seconds. I wish we had like rights and access to some of the songs that we just talked about, and I'd just be playing them,
I know, I
as
thought
we
about
edit
that,
this.
and I was like, I better not press play on my thing because we're gonna get
All of
yelled
a
at
sudden we get
by
this huge lawsuit.
um what should I look up to pull this up? Okay, so that's Cerrillos, that's St. Francis. So you take a right on Cerrillos, and so this is the one that I think is the best one. It's called La Choza,
All right, I'm writing it
and
down.
I think it's owned by the same people. And La Choza is like super good. I love La Choza. La Choza's great. And then if you head down to the De Vargas Mall, come on now, where are you? I know it's going to be a big building.
So one of the things we do every month, we have this piece that we publish called Craigies and Snackies. And we try to like find a Craig that not many people know about or go to. And then we try to find like a restaurant that you might hit after that Craig. So I haven't we're doing every state in alphabetical order. So I haven't done New Mexico yet. But when I do, I'm gonna use La Choza as the snackies that I recommend to people to go
Yeah.
to. That's perfect.
Um, a Triscos.
Would you say Latriscos?
A Triscos
A
with an
Triso.
A.
Oh yeah, you said sorry.
Cafe and
That's the one.
bar. Pretty
Okay.
sure it's owned by the same family. And then there's one more, which is this is like the secret
All
spot.
right.
So if you go climb in the climbing gym in Santa Fe, and um, this is going to be the hard bit is figuring out which crossroads. I can look up Santa Fe Climbing Center. So right across the street from the Santa Fe Climbing Center, if you
Yeah.
cross the street, the old gym was across from La Choza, and the new gym, it moved just like 5 minutes down the street, but it's right across from this super small New Mexican restaurant where it's a restaurant and tortilleria.
Oh
So
yeah.
they make the tortillas like
So
they
good.
pull them off the thing and then roll your burrito with them. And this is
man.
like the super secret spot that you like have to hit
This is the one.
if you hit the climbing gym. And it's right behind like the climbing gym's here. You cross the street and there's Big Meow Wolf, and you like go to the right of Meow Wolf.
Okay.
And it's called, I think it starts with an L. And this is, yeah, that's Meow Wolf. And then it is, please tell me it's still there. It's not. So it's on. This is the other thing is I haven't been there in like 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's on Rafina. And it's in the same building as this spot called Pan de Vida, which looks like a cake spot.
Okay.
And I think it starts with an L.
All right.
And it's like Laura's or Lucia's.
Oh, Lucius, I'm writing it down.
Lucia's. I don't know if it still exists, but if it does, it's like for sure the secret spot. I mean, it's like smaller than my house. It's like tiny little, like you would never walk in there if you were walking down the street. It's super hidden. But it's just so good. It's like for sure, like you have to hit that spot and get like
perfect.
A breakfast burrito with green chili.
All right, that's gonna be on that Craig's and Snacky's house. That'll be number one. If that place is still open, we're going with Lucia's. If
Dude, Lucia's. Oh, it's so good.
If there's any Santa Fe climbers out here who's still living in the area, like if you want to verify,
Yeah, for real.
let us know.
Yeah.
So Ben, as we close up here, I know you're doing a billion different things that are all like real positive and they're just great. So I didn't know if you wanted to like put a spotlight on anything that you want people to pay attention to or focus on or anything you want to plug before we go.
That's a good question. I don't know. I have like a lot of things kind of in the works, but nothing like crazy going on right now.
All right.
I've got like a new hold line coming out in an indefinite amount of time.
Yeah.
Basically, like I shaped these last year and we got the shapes and I'm pretty psyched on them. But the manufacturer is changing their plastic. So
Okay.
we're like waiting for the good plastic to come
Awesome.
in because we
Okay.
don't really want to start selling holds with this like plastic that polishes.
No, for
So
sure.
like in an indefinite amount of time, there will be like 30 new shapes that I'm pretty psyched on.
Are they up on
Um,
the website? The shape that you
no, they're
Okay.
like we have all the product photos. They're all like
Gotcha.
ready to go. The site's like ready to click and like have them go. And our
Okay.
newest sales rep has been I think like talking to gyms and like showing the photos and being like, "You
Yeah.
want some?"
Yeah.
But we just don't have like basically we can't order them in the new plastic, so we can't like tell people about them until we have like the plastic ready to go.
Okay. And
Um,
you designed them. You shaped them like you carved them out.
yeah, I shaped them. So like the
That's so
last set
sweet.
that I released was called the Resistors, and it's like 5 fiberglass shapes. Um, and then I made either like I want to say it was like 80 shapes of like PU holds to go with them.
Cool.
And we molded about half, so it's like just under 40 shapes. And it's the smaller of the holds we like sent off because it was kind of like a test run. It's like a new
Yeah.
manufacturer in China. And basically we're like, hey, take these and please don't mess them up.
Yeah.
And if you do a good enough job, we'll start selling them.
Oh, nice.
And they did a really good job. We dual text about half of them. So half are like just all texture, and then
Yeah.
half are like dual texture. And they did a really good job with the dual text. I'm pretty psyched on them.
Oh, that's
They're
cool.
up at BP right now. The
Oh,
like
nice.
set of like holds that will like it, the like photo holds are up in BP. I like went in and set a couple of other problems with
Oh,
them.
that's so cool. How fun
Yeah,
is
I'm
that? That's
psyched.
awesome.
Yeah, they're cool. They're nice. There's still a lot of the same stuff that I've made. Like we didn't mold any of the jugs, so they're
Yeah.
still just like bad crimpers to like really bad crimpers.
Those are your options. Horrible and
Yeah,
worse.
there's like really bad crimpers and really bad crimpers. There was a couple
Yeah.
that I got back and I was like, damn, I was like, what was I
What was I
thinking?
thinking? It's just apology. They come with an apology. Like when people are like, I'm sorry about this.
We like I mean I honestly do feel like some of the holds I've made like we've had to do that because like people order the Genesis holds um and they'll get them and they're like I really can't use them. They're like
Yeah.
they're too bad. And I was like, yeah, like these holds were made for like I like the set that you bought were like the holds I made for like World Cups where I
Yeah,
was like,
right.
this is gonna be the hard boulder in the
Yeah,
World Cup.
this is where
Like,
people are gonna fall
yeah,
right, right here.
they're made for like I mean, yeah, for like World Cups, like lead World Cups, a lot of the Genesis was like the idea was like really hard lead routes or
Yeah,
like climbing V15 on my spray wall. They're like
yeah.
those holds are like the holds that we use on a lot of the like V14 boulder problems on the pusher wall.
Yeah. I hope a lot of people with like home woodies are hearing this and they're like, oh, like all cocky, like I can send it, and they just start ordering them. So like, let's see what they're made of.
There's some really bad. There's like one set that's like, then they go from like in cut jugs. They're like the idea behind them was like um this thing that like some of them came from the cheetah holds. Um and I
Yeah,
think that's how the whole Genesis thing started was like Cheetah makes this set of boomerangs and they go from like everything from like super bad, no text, like flat
yeah.
crimpers to like these like
Ugh.
perfect. They have these two or three perfect in cut like mini jug screw on holds.
Yeah.
And they're my favorite holds that I've like some of my
Oh, really?
favorite ever holds.
All
They're
right.
amazing, but they come in a set of like 10 or 15 and there's just only three that are like this
Okay.
and so And I was like, I want more of these. And so I made like 20 of them.
Oh, nice. That's
Because I
awesome.
was just like, I just want this hold, but like a
Yeah.
bunch of them. And it's the like basically the idea behind it is they like don't have an edge in them.
Okay.
So they are jugs, but if you like turn them, they're no longer jugs because there's no edge, there's nothing to like pull against or pull
Yeah.
away from the wall.
That's sweet.
And then they go down to like good crimps that you can like
Yeah.
on the spray wall at Pusher, they're probably like V11 or V12 to climb on.
Yeah.
And then there's the set that's really small that like, yeah, they're bad. They're really bad. Like
Not real.
they're
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
like they're like on a volume on the spray wall and it's still like V12
Oof.
or V13.
Oh, come on. That's brutal.
And then people buy them and they're like, yo, I put this on my 45. I can't
Yeah,
do
come on. You
anything with
can't do
it.
it.
It's too bad to step on. I was like, I know, I'm sorry.
I don't know what to tell you. Like you saw what you were buying. That's great. All right, so go out and get some holds. Anything else you want to plug before we head out?
I mean, I don't think so. No, I mean, I got lots of stuff to talk about, but nothing to plug.
So much. Yo, Ben, this was a pleasure. I would love to talk to you again about anything, music, videos, climbing. So hopefully we can have you back in the near future. Maybe we can run through another list of like top 10 foods or something like that. But this was
Yeah,
a
I would love to. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me, and I would always be excited to come back on. Yeah, this was great.
Of course. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Ben, thanks again.
If you enjoy listening to adventure stories, then you should visit thedihedral.com. You will find stories from other members of the community and read about climbing, life, and the outdoors. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Let's connect and climb on.
Climb on.